This video is for how to create rescue media for an NTFS drive or a exFAT drive that doesn't have FAT32 as an option when you check My Computer. This specific drive does not have FAT32 listed, but I'm going to show you how you can use an exFAT drive or an NTFS file system to actually create rescue media using Macrium Reflect as the source for the ISO file. So what you do is you go to the menu here. You're going to go to other tasks. You're going to go to rescue media. You're going to go to ISO file. Now this is where you save the ISO file. Now what you want to do is you want to save this ISO file to your desktop. So you browse, you go to your desktop, and you would create a folder there. Hit Control-Shift-N. Once again, that's Control-Shift-N, and then save the ISO file there in the desktop. All right. After that, you want to press Build, and it will save the ISO file to the desktop. Now, there are some other additional settings that you need to be aware of when using Macrium Reflect, and that is the Choose Base menu. Now, if you have Windows 11, you would probably want to use Windows PE 11. Or if you have Windows 10, you want to use Windows PE 10. If you have Windows RE features on your system, you can use the Windows RE option, which is a majority of systems will have that feature. Okay, so I'm just letting you know that. This is just letting you know the volume of the rescue media. Right now it's on the C drive because that's where the ISO file will be stored. So we're going to cancel that. All right, so you would hit build. I'm not going to build mine because I've already built mine. And then that would be saving the ISO file to that destination or that address where the ISO file will be located. Hit close. We're going to get out of Macrium Reflect. We're done using Macrium Reflect at this point. All right, now what you want to do is you want to go to the next file that you're going to have to use, and mine is in my downloads folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my downloads folder, and I'm going to open a program called Rufus. That's R-U-F-U-S. R-U-F-U-S. Rufus. Search that in Google. Find that website. Download Rufus. Now what you're going to do is you're going to open Rufus. All right, now that you have that open, you're going to have your device up here. This is going to be your boot drive where you're going to boot the ISO from. Set that, and mine is a 64 gigabyte exFAT or NTFS file system flash drive. It does not say FAT32. All right, so now we have our boot selection. Do you want a disk or ISO image? We want disk or ISO image selected. We go over here to select. We're going to choose the Macrium Rescue ISO on the desktop. Now you go down and you change the label of that. You might want to call that, mine would be Macrium boot. Something like that. Just typo there. I'm doing this with one hand and iPhone in the other. All right. Oh, this is terrible. All right, so Macrium boot. All right, now got that done. Now the good thing about Rufus is that it does everything for you, so you don't have to do anything. Keep in mind this here shows you that you have a UEFI system. This tutorial is only for GPT systems or UEFI systems that want to boot a flash drive that has exFAT or NTFS on it, but it doesn't have FAT32 on it. So what you can do is you create that label, you use Rufus, and it has this option here that says large FAT32. Now, large FAT32 gives you the flexibility and the compatibility to use your drive now as a FAT32 system, file system, when before it was only a exFAT or NTFS file system. All right, so with that being said, now with Rufus, your drive is recognized as a FAT32 drive, and it can now boot in a UEFI BIOS. So with that being said, now you're able to boot. Now what you want to do is hit start, and once you hit start, it will create all the boot files for that ISO file, or you could say an extraction of all the files within inside of this ISO file will be sent to the Macrium boot drive here with what I have listed. And so at that point, you'll have everything you need on that drive to boot up in your system in the BIOS. So you would hit start, and then you would close the app after it finished processing and creating those files. Now, it may need to download some files from the Windows server for the WinPE files. It may need to download some files. And so you may need internet access when you're using Rufus. And you also want to check that it's all the way up to date, because this version is so much easier than the other versions. I didn't have to do anything. So just hit close after that, and you're done. Now you can boot into your system, hit your boot key, go into the system. For my system, I have to locate an EFI file, or I can only boot from EFI file to boot a USB drive because it's an older system. So what I do is I boot from the EFI file, then I go into the x64 EFI file, and then I can boot from that x64 EFI file, and then the bootloader loads up the program for Macrium Reflect. And once Macrium Reflect loads, I can restore my entire backup using Macrium Reflect from that point forward. And I'm sure you can find other tutorials online about how to restore the backup from Macrium Reflect. But I just wanted to show you how to set up that ISO file and the situation with the exFAT and the inability of having a FAT32 drive. So you can do it with Rufus, and that's the tip of the day, man. End of story.